Hi, and welcome to another New Ulm Park and Recreation Report. Today we have a very special guest with us, and wanted to introduce our Facility Maintenance Supervisor, Ryan Wire, with us. Hi, Ryan.
Thanks, Joey.
Wanted to start to kick off, kind of like we have on the past Park and Rec updates, is get to know Ryan a little more. We talked about your title, but before we get into that and what your responsibilities are, how long have you been with the department?
I've been here over 7.5 years already.
All as Facility Maintenance Supervisor.
That's correct.
So, Facility Maintenance Supervisor, tell us about what your primary duties are, and then maybe we'll get into some things that maybe even you didn't expect when you started as part of that role.
Sure. Yeah, so the Park and Rec Department, as everybody knows, is pretty vast. So anything that's considered infrastructure, the 42 park units, the physical infrastructure within them, the three big buildings, Rec Center, Civic Center, Community Center, and so anything to do with kind of the physicality that is Park and Rec, the infrastructure, and then the staff that maintains them. So it kind of ends with the programming. We obviously have a program director, and she kind of takes care of that stuff. And a lot of the scheduling and stuff is not my responsibility, but kind of anything to do with the structures and their upkeep, and then future upgrades, future additions, that type of thing, construction projects, remodel projects.
So, Ryan talked about our vast park system and our facilities, and so big job, a lot going on. I think we're very fortunate to have what we have. So but that makes a big job for you and our staff. So you started to talk about our maintenance and facility division and that staff. So what are some things for the public to know, maybe about? Well, so let's start with our primary. What are our maintenance staff and facility staff? What are their primary responsibilities?
They generally, we kind of have a custodial division and then more of a maintenance division. Obviously, the custodial division is more upkeep, cleanliness, supplies, that type of thing. And then the maintenance division is more of the kind of physical attributes to fixing things, adjusting things, replacing, repairing, that type of thing. So it's the one custodial department is more of a regimented schedule because there's more of a predictable schedule. But the maintenance division more or less kind of reacts differently every week to different needs and or issues that come up.
Right.
So.
And a lot of that is, let's talk about outside, is dependent on weather. So we're dealing with whether it's a drought year and how to manage that, or this year with a lot of rain in June. So unpredictability, but I think I'd like to really talk about Ryan and his skills as how we've got our maintenance and facility division really efficient these days. So, and I know we have great schedules, we have great staff, and we work hard to take care of our facilities and because they're for public use, and we want the public to enjoy all those. So let's talk about maybe some things that our maintenance and facility division does and our staff do that maybe the public doesn't know. Anything that come to your head that wouldn't be the typical day-to-day things but might be these one-offs that we are responsible for, because we're hitting a lot of different things.
Yeah, we actually have a route that we maintain every week, and I think a lot of times people take for granted that. A good example is I kind of joke sometimes about we have different grass apparently than the homeowners have because they mow their grass once a week. Well, the entire system also has that same type of grass in the same weather, and so there's definitely a weekly mow pattern, but it can go beyond that. And it goes as far as mowing things that aren't even Park and Rec department. I mean, everything in the city, we're a big team, and everything that's green grows. And the stormwater ponds and stuff like that, there isn't a definitive group that takes care of those. So some of that stuff falls into Park and Rec, which is even beyond our scope. But we're happy to help out because somebody at the city has to take care of those city properties. So I think a lot of people don't realize how much beyond just the Park and Rec facilities that we do maintain within the Park and Rec department. The whole route out kind of by Cashwise to Walmart to Menards, all that kind of shoulder, ditch, shoulder areas, that's all maintained by the Park and Rec department throughout the summer, mowing and weed whipping. Highland, Highland from the roundabout, new roundabout, all the way to the school. Some of those areas. I think people forget that we actually do maintain beyond that. We try to prioritize our actual park units, but those other areas need to be maintained as well for the city to be as nice as a general whole, not just Park and Rec.
Right. So if people out there seeing someone on a mower or seeing someone plowing snow in some of these areas, there's a good chance it's Park and Rec staff doing that.
Yeah, likely it is, especially mowing. In terms of the moving snow, I'm glad you brought that up, Joey, is, we do it's about an 8-hour sidewalk kind of route. And most of it is boulevard sidewalks on our properties, but also some of the other city properties that really don't fall into another department. A lot of times Park and Rec will pick those up. I will give street department though credit, they do the downtown, but anything outside of downtown generally falls to the Park and Rec department, city type of properties.
Great. And as we talked about your position a little bit, a huge part of that is project management. And so let's talk about, maybe over your 7.5 years now with the department, what has been your favorite project, if you have one?
Yeah, I think the Renew projects, both the Johnson Park and the Rec Center, were both very fun, very challenging, very at times stressful, but very satisfying when you get to look back, walk in at a completed project, and just look at what that created over the course of that time frame. Obviously, the Rec Center was significantly longer, but looking at the end product gives a good satisfaction, especially for my personality. I just take a lot of pride in that I was a part of that team that got that happening, and now you have this great looking asset that is there for the town to use for many, many years. And the long lasting effect of project management is what I've always enjoyed about that. It's the time of doing, but then after that, it's longevity. And so those are the two projects that come into mind.
Great. And maybe you started to get into this a little bit, but and maybe it will be the same answer, but we talked about your favorite, but maybe what's the most challenging project that you've overseen so far, and it could be the same answer.
Yeah, actually the Johnson Park project was really challenging because of the alterations we were trying to do to that 1940s grandstand. So it was a completely poured in place concrete tiered grandstand poured on dirt and from 1940. And we literally were cutting into it and trying to alter it to something in today's standards. So there was a massive amount of challenges and a lot of ingenuity, creativity, problem solving. And what we have now, you'd never guess that some of that stuff is still original and how it relates to the new stuff. It was both challenging and fun and very satisfying, kind of.
Great, and just a fantastic facility for our community, but also all the different people that come to that all throughout the state and region. Really a project to be proud of. So let's go into project updates now. Usually each month I give a lot of project updates, but I'm going to make Ryan do it today since he's very involved in overseeing all these projects. So let's start with battery building. Where are we at?
Yep. So I actually just sent out the go ahead to move in. We should have electrical inspection actually this afternoon. We anticipate that passing. So that is a completed project, ready for move in. Nice little storage building. Should keep some of those very important and expensive and rare items that they carry around more secure and more weather tight. So that is actually completed. Moving on.
Great. Maybe another one really close to completion. We've talked about the dog park shelter and that donation through the Realtor Association of Southern Minnesota to help with that project. Where are we at on that?
Yeah, we're still missing a couple pieces of roof tin. Those should be installed here within the next week. We've also started the process of turf establishment. So if you see a sprinkler going on out there, we're going to keep it closed for a little bit, see if we can get some grass to grow before we cut the people and dog friends loose in there.
Great. And we're taping this right now at the end of September, so for people out there listening. Next one, our flagpole addition at Veterans Memorial down at German Park.
Yeah, so that's a challenging one. On the surface, it seems very simple. Add a couple flagpoles. The challenge we're having is how to properly light the situation. So we want to light them both effectively, but also aesthetically pleasing and somewhat budget friendly, right? So all three of those things can be kind of conflict at times. So we're really, I mean, the flagpoles themselves and some of the infrastructure for that is fairly simple, but we want to make sure we get the lighting correct. And so we're doing a big deep dive on what's out there, what costs what, and then what's going to provide the best lighting situation, most effective to the dollar. So we're kind of doing the research and development around that right now, and hopefully we can get some answers back. And depends on the fall, really.
Right.
That project's going to depend on what type of fall weather we have, because if it turns cold and gets hard on the ground, we may have to postpone some of that groundwork, because most of that project is in the ground, you know. So it just depends how quickly we can really. But I think it's important, because once you spend that money, and you know, we want to get it right, definitely in that instance.
Great, good update on that. And then the last one I have for right now is the air handler unit at the rec center and in the field house, or for the field house.
Yeah, so there were some equipment delays early in the project already, and there's some supporting tasks being completed currently, structural stuff, kind of preparatory stuff, and we'll see how that takes, and then if we can get the actual equipment delivered on the time that they said they were gonna, I think we will be all right for somewhere in that mid-October to mid-November at the latest. So there may be some interruptions to service during that time. It's nothing that we can really nail down currently.
Okay, and we'll be looking for a lot of communication to the public as we have updates on that project, because we have heavily used facility, obviously, that we've talked about, so a lot of updates to come on that one. How about future projects? What are, do you have any future projects on the horizon, that you're starting to prepare for now to get ahead of?
Yeah, we always do. So, I've kind of accustomed in my career, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about today. I spend a very little amount of time thinking about today, and then my job is effective when I think about tomorrow and beyond. So I spend a lot of my day thinking about tomorrow and beyond. We have some heavy stuff coming in our system, the Park and Rec system. The Civic Center was built in 2003, so it's a 20-year-old facility. A lot of the rec center stuff was done in 2003. So there's a lot of 20-year-old facility stuff, and a lot of these components have 20 to 30-year lifespans. So there's a lot of research into what's priority, how to get ahead of roofs and HVAC equipment and that type of thing that are now 20 years old, and how long do you let them go? Those are the big ones. Those are important. The next 10 years are going to be pretty important on all three facilities, all three buildings, and how that money gets spent. So that's the long term. Short term, there's a lot of little projects, minor improvements and or upgrades. There's obviously replacements. There's always stuff wearing out. I don't know if those, I would consider those major,
right.
But it's kind of the cost of doing business. When you have this vast of a system and you have these many different components, things wear out, and you have to continually be replacing them or updating them prior to complete failure. And so that's what I spend. I try to identify. A good example is asphalt. Our parking lots and stuff, we have an asphalt plan. So every year we allocate out something, either a resurface or a painting or a sealing coating or something like that. And so there'll be that stuff ongoing in the system for next year already.
Great. How about any future maintenance practices that you've done a great job, with getting a lot of our maintenance practices in line with efficiency, like we've talked about. Anything in the future on our horizon that we might be looking at?
AI. I've been doing a lot of research over the years, trying to figure out where this is going to head. I think we all kind of know where it's going to go, and then trying to analyze if that's a fit for the city of New Ulm and our system. I could see definitely some robotic situations in our system coming up. We are also looking to always kind of reduce our footprint a little bit. So we've talked a lot about native plantings and native planting areas, which would reduce some of the weekly mowings. That's been a practice that has been changed out as well. So we're always looking to do that. It's just sometimes people aren't fully understanding of a well-groomed yard or turf location versus native plantings, which you kind of let them go and do their thing. So I think those are kind of two things that are definitely coming our way, and some of them are here, but the robotics and some of that AI will be here faster than we know it. I think it has a place. I think my strategy and is kind of let other people maybe work some of the kinks out, let some competition drive some of the costs down, and then maybe get in the front half, but maybe not on the front first. So
Great. So yeah, so we'll see where that goes. If people out there, if we have a mower mowing some of our parks on its own, that's probably not that far away.
it definitely is not that far away. There are cities, there are a lot of entities that have already gone there, at least in a small capacity, to try to alleviate some of the labor concerns. Labor is never going to go down,
Right.
so that's always something on the forefront.
Well, great. Well, I appreciate you joining us on this month's Park and Rec report. I hope this information was really helpful for people to get to know you and really what your position is and how it relates to our department and all the different things going on with maintenance and facilities for Park and Rec. Just real quick, I want everyone out there, if you're looking for Park and Rec related updates, even maintenance and facilities and project updates, best way to find that is City or New Ulm Park and Rec Facebook page, as well as the City of New Ulm website, and click on the Park and Recreation tab. Thank you, and we'll see you again next month.